So I decided to read The Exorcist because I thought, hey, it's a classic. How scary could it be? A few creaky doors, maybe polite hunting. Cut to me at 3 a.m., clutching a Bible I didn't know I owned, whispering nope every 3 seconds. Instead, I got a head spinning, pea soup vomiting, soul screaming battle between good and evil and Elijah Bond, 18th century inventor of the Ouija board. Reading it at night was a mistake. By page 50, I was googling can demons read my thoughts and sleeping with a nightlight, two crucifixes, and a spray bottle of holy water labeled just in case. The writing is so vivid that I could smell the despair and the pea soup. William Peter Blatty really said, what if we take Catholic guilt, mix it with possession, and serve it over nightmares? And my brain answered, delicious, thank you. I'll never sleep again. A sweet little girl named Regan starts acting weird. Not teenager weird, more like speaking fluent demon and floating about the bed like she's in Cirque du Hell. Naturally, her mom calls a priest instead of, 911 or an exorcism themed Yelp service. And that's when things really go off the rails. By page 100, everyone's sweating, swearing, and questioning their faith, while Regan is over there performing Olympic level head spins and projectile vomiting like she's auditioning for The Exorcist, the musical. Let's stick with the fact that I absolutely love this book. Firstly, it's wonderfully written, and it is a real page turner, making you quite excited to find out what will happen, even after you actually watch the movie. Well researched in the field of psychiatry, and I absolutely adore psychiatry, so I truly enjoyed it. Secondly, it is scary. As a writer myself, I gleaned some beautiful turns of phrase, especially in the first half of the book. The atmosphere is wonderfully ominous, with something dreadful and sinister lingering in the air. All of it fueled by an active satanic cult which seems to have infiltrated even the church. Here I find myself rubbing my hands together with glee as I began reading this book in search of the reason behind demonic possession. Possession which happens not because of Ouija board, of course, and certainly not because Chris is an atheist. We won't go deeper down that path. Those who aren't for religion are automatically against it. If to be completely honest, I had a hope that someone from the cult's ranks is in the house. I suspected Sharon until the very end. After all, possession logically should be a complex procedure too. It doesn't happen with a snap of fingers, nor does it occur randomly. There must be something in a person's psyche that responds to the devil's call, if we are going some logical route. Or is possession like a viral disease and religion like a vaccine? Oh, too many unanswered questions. Silly me. Sharon was innocent. Moreover, there was no influence of witchcraft at the house. By the way, where did Chris get the Ouija board from? Anyway, while I've encountered fanatical believers, I've never met anyone so fanatically non believing as Chris. After the episode with the cross and the 360-degree head turn, it doesn't matter what faith you are, you just know you need holy water urgently, intravenously, right now. I know, you cannot inject water intravenously, it can cause hemolysis. Tranquilizers are definitely safer. A special mention goes to the character Karas. Dr. Priest turned out to be even more non-believer than all the doctors and even Chris Atheist herself. She cries like a spider, her bed is flying, her head fully spinning around. She twisted the neck of the family friend, a drug addicted with whom she was left alone at home, by the way. She looks like a demon, speaks with another voices and in 5 languages, and even anagrams. She reads minds and moves objects. Oh, my dear, it's just hysteria stemming from her parents' divorce. Quite common for kids in her age. So, what does this story teach us? Priest Cars finally believed in God. Chris changed her house instead of beliefs. The detective never found a company to watch movies with. Curtain credits. Despite everything, this is a beautiful story that tells us explicitly 4 centuries of the Inquisition were not in vain. Let's have a look at various film adaptations. Exorcist the movie, the 1973 film adaptation. Oh, sweet merciful Father Mary. This is the only movie where furniture, soup, and gravity all go on strike simultaneously. Linda Blair deserves an Oscar, a medal, and lifetime therapy coupons for what she went through. That spinning head scene, I don't care how many times I see it, I still grab my neck like it might happen to me too. Also, whoever handled the sound design deserves both prize and a lifetime therapy. That demon voice lives rent free in my brain, occasionally whispering, "The power of Christ compels you" during Zoom calls. The Verdict, an absolute masterpiece of horror that made me question everything: my faith, my diet, my choice to watch it alone in the dark. If you like jump scary theology and projectile vomiting as an art form, The Exorcist is your jam. Side effects may include sudden urge to learn Latin, fear of basement, respect for priests with cardio training, and the inability to eat pea soup ever again. Would recommend it? Yes, just maybe keep your local priest on speed dial. After extensive research and several popcorn filled nights, I have determined that my second favorite film adaptation of the book is Scary Movie 2 The Beginning, or as I like to call it, The Power of Comedy Compels You. If The Exorcist made you fear demonic possession, Scary Movie 2 will make you fear brain cells leaving your body from laughter. We open with the exorcist scene, except instead of chills and holy water, we get James Woods as a priest, swearing, sweating, and battling the forces of darkness like he's late for brunch. The possessed girl isn't spinning her head in terror, she's roasting him like it's open midnight in hell. I've never seen a priest lose an exorcism and his dignity so fast. From there, the movie says, plot? Never heard of it. And dives headfirst into haunted house nonsense, ghost gropes, and slapstick that would make even the devil say, okay, that's too far. Highlights include a paralyzed man fist fighting a ghost trying to seduce people like he's auditioning for The Bachelor, Supernatural Edition, and a butler with a hand so creepy it deserves its own horror franchise. Take My Strong Hand still haunts my dreams and Thanksgiving dinners alike. The movie manages to parody The Exorcist, The Haunting, Poltergeist, and Good Taste all in one chaotic package. A cinematic disaster piece that somehow became a comedy classic. It's dumb, it's loud, it's inappropriate, and it's absolutely glorious. If The Exorcist made you scream out of fear, Scary Movie 2 will make you scream out of laughter and maybe mild shame of laughing so hard. Warning: do not watch while drinking. You'll choke. Do not watch with your parents. You'll move out. Do not watch with your priest. You'll need a new church. So far, there are 8 films that, in one way or another, have poked, prodded, or outright wrestled with the original Exorcist story. The Exorcist, Exorcist 2, The Heretic, The Exorcist 3, Exorcist the Beginning, Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, The Exorcist Believer, The Exorcist Deceiver, scheduled for 2025, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. To this list, I could easily add The Rite, a film that shares the Exorcist atmosphere and theme, but actually makes a bit more sense when it comes to faith as an inner backbone rather than a special effects competition. A skeptical American seminary student, because there is always one, gets sent to Italy to study exorcism under Father Lucas, played by Anthony Hopkins, who looks like he's been personally fighting demons since the Council of Trent. At first, he's calm, wise, sipping the tea like, "Ah, yes, another Tuesday in hell." And then, bam, full possession mode. Suddenly, Sir Anthony is speaking in demonic tongues, popping veins, and making the exorcist Pazuzu look like a polite dinner guest. The vibe, let's say, it's as if the exorcist and the Da Vinci Code had a baby. And that baby grew up to brood about faith while covered in holy water. There is enough ominous chanting to summon your neighbor's Alexa, and at least three moments where the protagonist stares dramatically at the crucifix while thunder booms, for subtlety. You can feel the exorcist influence. All the classic ingredients are here: a adopting priest, a possessed person doing unsettling yoga, a lot of shouting in Latin. The verdict: 5 stars for effort, atmosphere, and Sir Anthony Hopkins casually acting circles around Satan himself. Would I call it terrifying? Not exactly. But would I call it entertaining? Absolutely. If The Exorcist is the horrifying original, the Rite is its charming philosophical cousin who quotes theology and then vomits black goo mid lecture. You won't be scared out of your faith, just mildly confused, vaguely impressed, and very aware that Anthony Hopkins could probably exorcise you with a raised eyebrow alone. It's worth noting that multiple sources point to real events as the inspiration for The Exorcist. We'll probably never know what truly lay behind those notorious possession cases, whether they were matters for psychiatry, the church, or just the collective imagination having a particularly dramatic week. There is plenty to argue about, of course. As for my own opinion, I'm not an atheist, but I'm hardly a devout believer either. I suppose I lean toward the timeless wisdom of Fox Mulder from the X Files. The truth is out there. And ergot, the humble fungus that managed to outdo both demons and drama teachers when it came to producing convincing cases of possession. For centuries, it quietly grew on Rye, bided its time, waiting for humanity to bake it into bread and then promptly lose its collective mind. Ergot is a type of fungus that grows primarily on rye and other cereal grains. Its scientific name is Claviceps purpurea, and it produces dark, hardened structures called sclerotia that replace the grains in the plant. This sclerotia contains alkaloids that can be highly toxic or psychoactive. Consumption of ergot-contaminated grain can lead to ergotism, historically called as St. Anthony's fire. Symptoms include convulsion, hallucination, severe burning sensation in the limbs, gangrene, and sometimes death. There were epidemics of ergotism in Europe during the Middle Ages, often blamed on curses, demons, or witchcraft because of the bizarre physical and psychological symptoms. Some ergot alkaloids are chemically related to LSD, which was first synthesized from ergot compounds. Small doses can produce hallucinations, altered perceptions, and strong effect on the nerve system. Many possession cases in history may have been caused by ergot-contaminated rye bread, giving rise to stories of people seeing visions, convulsing, or acting possessed. In the days before microscopes and mycology, nobody suspected the grain. When whole villages began twitching, shrieking, and seeing visions of the devil, the explanation seemed obvious. Satan had finally opened a regional office in rural Europe. Priests were summoned, holy water was splashed, and people were tied to beds while muttering in Latin, not realizing that what they were really battling was a loaf of bread with attitude. Then, centuries later, science showed up like the world's most boring but necessary party guest. It pointed out with embarrassing precision that the demonic infestation had probably been caused by a psychoactive mold. Humanity caught red-handed with its hallucinogenic baguette, caught politely and promised to start checking its flour a little more carefully. And thus the grand war between heaven and hell quietly turned out to be a food safety issues. So should we pray more, light a few extra candles, whisper a few more names into the void? Or should we for once gather some courage and look the devil straight into the eye? Because sometimes when we finally dare to face what frightens us, we find that the monsters were never hiding behind the door at all. They were quietly growing in the shadows of our own ignorance, waiting for us to mistake them for devil's work or for the God's will.